So thank you very much, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really delighted to make this presentation. My gratitude to the Hungarian National Museum and also to the Center of Museological Methodology and Information. Exploiting a series of experimental and embodied platforms, this presentation argues for a transformation of engagement with digital archives and objects at the intersection of tangible and intangible. What interests me is how we defy mechanistic descriptions of database logic to explore the ways in which computation can become experiential, spatial, and materialized, embedded and embodied. It was at the birth of the information age in the 1950s that the prominent designer György Kepes of MIT said, "Information abundance should be a landscape of the senses that organizes both perception and practice. This felt order," he said, "should be a source of beauty, data transformed from its measured quantities and recreated as sensed forms exhibiting the properties of harmony, rhythm, and proportion." To set the stage for a new kind of museology, we could step back to the recent past when the CEO of Intel, Brian Krasnick, declared in 2014, "We're in the midst of a transformation from a world of screens and devices to a world of immersive experiences." But what we know through the art history, the history of science, and media archaeology is that what he was really observing was hundreds of years of development in these technologically enabled prosthetic architectures of the senses. From the Kaiser panorama to the Sensorama, the emergence of immersive environments coincided with the sublimation of curatorial praxis inside machines and represented the greatest challenge to the passive viewer since the invention of the roller coaster. The experiments that I will discuss with you today are just three: kinesthetic cultural imaginaries. This section really deals with embodied spaces of representation. Data sculpting is the art of computational new museology and new modes of access to burgeoning cultural big data. And deep mapping, investigating the ways to perform a post-Cartesian map. And if we have time, I'll introduce my latest exhibition, Deep Fakes, Art and Its Double. Traditionally, museums are ordering machines. They generate conventions of looking, institutionalized with the qualities of mechanized reason, similitude, homeostasis, and miniaturization. However, post-processual archaeologist Christopher Tilley stresses kinesthetic approaches, that is, the way we perceive and relate to visual imagery, is fundamentally related to the kinds of bodies we have. Christopher Pinney describes corporeal embodied aesthetics, the way in which iconic images transfix their viewers. Embodiment theory, informing presence theory, is central to a post-digital encounter. The dome of the Prince of Wales Museum was adopted as the epicenter of an artistic exploration that specifically focuses on the ceiling architectures of Mumbai's heritage and contemporary buildings and transforms them into an urban celestial imaginary. Mumbai's architectural heritage is unrivaled in India. The city has one of the largest representations of grand neo-Gothic style architecture, numerous examples of Indo-Saracenic architecture, and one of the world's largest numbers of Art Deco buildings. We shot 160 gigapixel images throughout the city, the Bauji Museum, but also Terminal 2, the new Mumbai airport. The 6-meter dome from my lab was placed under the 60-foot ceiling of the museum, and it allowed about 2,000 people a day to come and rediscover the city, their city, with fresh eyes. Open to all, it gave new perspectives on the many spaces that are socially exclusive despite their public heritage status. And the work uses a computer vision algorithm that randomly selects any pair of images and creates a unique transition between them. So in effect, you could lie there all day and never see the same thing twice. The concept of an experiential domed environment emerged from attempts to simulate the spherical gestalt of the human visual field and was designed to exploit and extend sensory perception. In collaboration with the National Museum of Australia, we created 2 dome experiences, Travelling Kankarangalpa, the songline of the Seven Sisters. This songline portrays one of the most defining and predominant meta-narratives chronicled in ancient mainland Australia, but had never been told in the public domain until this exhibition. Project was 7 years in the making, from the day that the elders asked the museum for help to keep their songline alive. The first work involves photogrammetry of a sacred cave that had never been photographed before, time-lapse photography, drone-based panoramas and gigapixel imaging, as well as ambisonics, allowing visitors intimate views of the stories contained within its sandstone folds. The second dome journey immerses visitors in a series of projected artworks of this songline made by the custodians of the story and used to tell the narrative as the Seven Sisters travel country. And in the final scene, 3-dimensional models of these extraordinary trussed grass jumpy figures are seen taking flight, pre-configuring their final destination in the night sky as the constellation of Pleiades. The National Museum collected these objects. We made photogrammetric models. We worked with the Matu artists who created specific depictions of each part of the narrative. Often their paintings are displaying almost perfect mathematical fisheye distortion required for full dome projection. Complex set of interpretations led us to be able to interpret these images through animation. This is a shot from the opening of this exhibition, and it won a whole series of major awards in museums and is now touring the world. What's most important about it was really that there's 7 years that it took, and it resulted in a watershed of curatorial and Indigenous museum relationships in Australia. It opened this month at the Box in the UK to rave reviews. From ancient Australia to ancient China, we're now in the Dongguan caves of the Gobi Desert. At the nexus of the Silk Road, this World Heritage Site has 492 caves carved into this cliff face. Inside, 45,000 square meters of painted frescoes and over 2,000 statues, crafted by Buddhist monks over a period of 1,000 years. This sublime art treasury is like nothing else in the Chinese Buddhist world. Most of these caves are closed to the public to ensure their preservation, and the digital is the only mode of visitation in an era characterized by heritage at risk. These caves are under serious threat from increasing tourism. In an enormous preservation effort, mass digitization is done by over 60 full-time photographers. It takes 3 months to digitize a single cave. It's camera array photography and laser scanning. We took the material from Cave 220, which is permanently closed to the public, to create the Pure Land projects and to activate the kinesthetic spatial responses of viewers and give them which give us important insights into how interfaces act in the museological domain. Pure Land AR was originally conceived for Art Basel in Hong Kong and in 2012, and you're using this tablet to navigate inside the digital model at exactly 1-to-1 scale. The interface has several qualities which are worth exploring. The first is that it harnesses socialization around a single screen. This is at the core of the museological experience. It's not about everybody having their own device. It's about how you share. Interfaces for all ages, young kids, middle-aged ladies, grandmother, grandchild. Grandmother abandons the grandchild and takes off with the screen. And the final, most noteworthy quality is that of virtual tourism. Here the wife takes an iPad from her handbag and she's filming her husband's experience as if they were really there. Just to the tech team, you know that none of the audio is playing on these slides. It was reformed as an interactive experience for the World Economic Forum in a full dome, and it also was created as 360-degree 3D interactive experience. In fact, a single data set was used to complete 5 totally separate exhibitions, and these have been seen by over millions of people worldwide. And it's this malleability of digital data that is its intrinsic quality. Interfaces can often embrace the spatial formats of their originating media. The Imaki Navigator enables visitors in this experiment of spatial temporal forms of navigation. From a physically embodied point of view, viewers reveal each of the 3 17th century hand scrolls along their entire length at 1-to-1 scale. Each scroll of the poetry contest of the 12 animals is approximately 12 meters long, as is the navigation system itself. So this horizontal narration system responds to viewers' interests, and a dynamic touch screen travels along a motorized railing, traversing the full length of each Imaki. Using ultra-high resolution imaging, the scrolls enable zooming into details that are usually too small for the naked eye to see, providing unparalleled intimacy with materialities of each, their paper and pigment, the subtle colors of gold and silver. The scrolls are unfolded in the original reading direction from right to left, while the visitors can also jump to points of interest and between individual scrolls. Can you get them to turn the audio on? Thanks. The audio compositions are dynamic, but you can't hear them yet, emerging from the visitor interactions, and these add narrative drama to the animals engaged in the poetry competition to embark into battle. This pan-aesthetic experience emulates the reading of traditional hand scrolls, while also transforming the visitor involvement in an interactive and non-linear narrative-enabling interface. And as simple as it might appear, it involves fundamental conceptual shifts from linear to non-linear temporal and spatial folds intrinsic to the digital form. Even before database logic pervaded our thinking, the museum was marked by profound shifts in understanding of the archive, from Foucault's Archaeology of Knowledge in '69 to Derrida's Archive Fever in '96. So we are now in an age of recollection, regeneration, and reworking or remediation. The archival form has become dynamic, corresponding to a move from classification to remix, a paradigmatic shift from the orthodox models of stewardship to one of co-production. So at most major museums, only a fraction of the collection are on display. It may well be the case here at the National Museum. British Museum, it's 0.4%, Museum Victoria, it's 0.8% of their 16 million objects. So we created them a massive data browser. You can turn the audio up a bit, you know. It's 100,000 objects. What's interesting about it is it only took 15 minutes to get the data exported from the content management system. It's across 18 themes. The images are temporally distributed in the 360, but you can travel in the Z-axis as far as the eye can see. You can obviously zoom into all of the images. It creates a wordle from the description of the object, but you can also access the original record. And probably what's most important is it tries to connect indigenous materials, social history, and the natural sciences using metadata structures. And it exposes these frameworks or these linkages to the public. What's also important is it doesn't have a search engine. You can't type in what you're looking for. It acts like a real-time curating machine where you'll always be presented with the unexpected. Audiovisual archives as we know, are the major records of the 20th and 21st century, and their sheer size and temporal nature present custodians with significant challenges to access, and meaningful engagement to these vast archives is of primary concern. So Jazz Luminaries is based on the constellation of jazz greats from the seminal UNESCO Memory of the World Montreux Jazz Archive project. The installation cuts, remixes, and replays 5,400 artists and 13,000 videos in a total archive of 11,000 hours of video. And the neural net-like image that you see here is based on the social network of the artists, and the clustering is based on the numbers of times one artist played with other artists. So at the very center of that spaghetti is B.B. King. Visitors lie under the dome, and they're using a spherical interface to navigate inside the constellation, emulating the hemisphere of the full dome in which it's staged. The search paradigm is akin to tuning a radio, search by listening, and this circumvents a lack of public knowledge into who actually the jazz great performers are. What you like drives the design to unfold in 3 layers: a sample, all songs, full song. So the theoretical framework for the next section lies in deep mapping or cartocriticism, and we need to be able to reconceive interpretations of a map as moving, embodied, social, technical, and emotive, and as an opportunity to present alternative visual solutions to specific problems of depicting and describing places and time. Conceiving of maps through a deep mapping schema posits that they're never fully formed, they're not static, but they emerge in navigational processes where everything is on the move. The Atlas of Maritime Buddhism charts the spread of Buddhism from India through Asia across 7 countries, hundreds of objects and sites, and the Atlas counterbalances prevailing narratives which neglect the importance of Pan-Asian maritime countries and Buddhist entrepreneurship in the expansion of trade from the 2nd century BCE to the 14th century CE. This research, of course, has profound contemporary relevance to the socio-economic and political transformation of the world by the Chinese government-led initiative known as One Belt, One Road. The Atlas starts in the rock-cut caves of India. It involved 6 years of field work across these hundreds of sites. Thousands of locations have been recorded in ultra-high resolution, 3D panoramic and spherical imaging, ambisonics, and spherical video. We use a rare stereoscopic film camera for this, but a myriad of other fieldwork-friendly techniques for a small team. There have been 3 major exhibitions. At the moment, we have one that just opened in Chengdu. The one in Taiwan is a 6-year installation, and it's currently receiving over 10,000 people a day. And I'm just going to quickly walk you through these slides because my time is limited, and just to discuss one installation. As you can see, all the different myriad of interfaces which allow us access in different ways to all of this material. And I will introduce a work called Double Truth, which is one of the installations, and it uses 3D models of many of the Buddha and Bodhisattva sculptures that we captured. Many have never been seen outside of their country of origin before. and by rotating a human-scale viewing platform, the participants in circumambulation generate a dynamic temporal sequence that reveals each of 15 sacred sculptures one by one. The reverse rotation of the platform, meanwhile, reveals unexpected materialities. Icons melt, fragment, and refold through a series of computer graphic transformations and parametric visualizations. And their acoustic realm is also augmented through sonification of each sculpture with rare ethnographic archival recordings from all of these Southeast Asian countries. Two truths in Buddhism are the truths of the mundane and the absolute. And as we know from art history, sculpture itself has a double truth. It is both noun and verb. It is at once frontality and multiplicity. And if I have time, and just to conclude, my other job is as director and lead curator of EPFL Pavilions, and Deepfakes Art in its Double is an exhibition that we opened in September in Switzerland, and it poses crucial questions about the potency of digital replicas to absorb audiences in enduring emotional encounters with universal art treasures. The Pavilions is located in a new Kengo Kumar building. Deepfakes occupies 2 of these 3 pavilions. It's 1,000 square meters with 21 installations. And traversing the simulacrum, mirror worlds, digital twins, cryptocurrency, and machine intelligence, the exhibition examines how algorithms and computer vision reperform and reprocess the digitally visible, exposing the optical unconscious of art and calling us to re-examine once again objecthood itself. Thank you.